Alright YouTubes, in this video I'll be painting a pearl white Tesla. So I've got a boot to paint, a couple of doors and a front bumper. So yeah, just give you a little explanation of how I do the pearl whites on this system, and how I blend them. So the system I'm on is Mipa water base, and yeah, your techniques and your applications will obviously vary depending on your paint system. So yes, I've not had any issues. I've done a few 3-stage white pearls, and I've had good results on this system. I've had good colour matches, stuff that's good edge to edge. So yeah, I'll give you a little explanation anyway. Like I say, there's a some variations obviously depending on the paint system, whether you're using solvent or water, and there's definitely variations in different manufacturers of water base. So yeah, this system, the first coat, the ground coat, so I primed all the repairs in white primer. The white's covers quite well the white base coat on this system, but yeah, I want white primer on there so that it hasn't got to do as much work. If I had light grey, so there's a couple of little breakthroughs that I just blew a little bit on, just to make sure that they weren't grinning through after the undercoat stage. So just puff a little light bit on those little breakthroughs, and then yeah, the normal procedure with this base coat is a half coat, and then two sort of medium wet coats after that. And you can apply them as individual coats and dry them out individually like a standard system, or you can double the two medium wet coats up. So that's what I do, and then just dry all that out at once. So they recommend to put hardener on if you're doing a 3-stage, any of these tri-colours and 3-stage colours, they recommend to put hardener in the first application. So there's a hardener option on the computer system, so you can add a hardener to it. It's just 5% of the hardener, so I put that in there. It just guarantees that you can have multiple layers of base coat on. It just guarantees that those first few coats, if there's any risk of it not being completely dry, just guarantees that it's gonna dry right through, because if water base can sometimes look dry on the surface and even feel dry, but there still may be moisture trapped underneath, which can cause delamination issues, and obviously it can cause your clear coat to die back. So yeah, the hardener goes in on the first application, and yeah, it doesn't really change it. It does make it a little bit sort of thicker to apply, but it doesn't change the smoothness of it when it's dry or anything like that. So yeah, edge to edge on this boot, so there's no blending on this boot. I had no colour chip reference for this colour. There was a couple of shades on there. I used the Spectro picked out one of the shades. Doesn't give you any indication of, doesn't give you any option to recalculate on a 3-stage pearl, the Spectro on the system. But it said it was a bluer shade that it picked out, and it said it was pretty close, but they're never that accurate, the Spectros with the 3-stage pearls. They do struggle. So yeah, the repairs were down the bottom on these two doors. So there's a little bit edge to edge to the front door, to the front wing. It's only a small little piece of front wing, and there's a black moulding at the back of that door, so plenty of blend room there. But you need to give yourself, if you want to blend 3-stage pearls, you do need to give yourself plenty of blend room. And the trick really is, it's that undercoat is the critical part of it. The pearl coat, the effect coat, as long as the effect is the same, the pearls look the same size wise, and the colour of the pearls or the ceramics, the pearl stage of it is not really gonna have any influence on your colour. It's that undercoat that influences the colour. And obviously when you're putting it on there and you've got the original paint on there, it's hard to tell where, if you've blended it out enough. Like I say, some different paint systems, it could pay to wash your colour out on the on the blending part of it, just to get that transition to to sort of blend out a bit easier, so the concentration of the colour's not so strong. But I've never had to do it on this system. It blends out fine. Well, whites do anyway. Some of the pastel colours, that's something that I need to be experimenting with, to be honest with you, because I've had some issues with the pastel type colours where the colour is just too strong, and it always shows where it's blended. So yeah, all the front bumpers undercoated all over, and then yeah, just making sure on that door that you know, that I've took that undercoat out enough. It's got, you know, you can't really see properly if it is blended properly, so you know, you've got to do it as a bit of muscle memory really of how you blend, and just make sure you're confident that you've blended that out enough, and you know that you've given yourself enough room. So that's all the undercoat on there now, and then yeah, onto the pearl coat. Pretty much standard. Normally every pearl job that I've done, I put 2 coats on, so 2 individual coats, no double coats or anything like that. I put 2 individual coats on. I think it always seems to be enough for the effect. You know, you could, you know, as you're spraying it out, check it. I normally check it at 2. If I don't think it looks quite right effect wise, then I'll do a third one. But yes, you know, again, some of the pearl coats, some of them, you know, they're in a transparent base coat with the pearls, you know, in there, so that transparent base coat is not going to have any colour influence on the job. But you know, some of them do have little drops of colour in as well, so you know, depending on what colour it is, really, what type of pearl it is, pearl white, or you know, any of these tri-colours, depending what, you know, what the formula is in that second stage, you're sort of going to know whether it's going to have any influence on colour. And yeah, like I say, some of them do have little drops of colour in there, as well as effect colours with pearls and ceralics in. But yeah, I do normally find on most of them it's 2 coats. So yeah, I put the first coat on there, and then dry that out. So you're sort of stacking up base coat now with these colours. So you're going to start introducing a bit of texture, and you know, risk of dieback on your clear coat and stuff like that. So they do take quite a long time in water base. There's a lot of changing the temperatures, you know, introducing heat into the booth, and then having to get the heat out of the booth for the next application. So it can, you know, they do take quite a while to do application time wise, because of all the drying, and you know, changing the temperatures as well. And I find on this system, and I have found it with other water bases that I've used, so once you start putting the pearl coat on there, it doesn't actually look like, you can see there, like you're getting a wet film on there, so it gives you the tendency to add more to it. But it's just due to the fact that you're putting, you know, a transparent base coat on top of, you know, you've stacked up a few layers of base coat beyond that, and it just won't sit on there wet like it would, you know, your first couple of coats of base coat. So yeah, it does make you want to add more to it, but I find you don't need to, as long as you know you've gone over it with your full fan and you know your normal application procedure. Even if it doesn't look like it's that wet, you've definitely got a coat on there, you know. So yeah, the blending out of it, obviously you want to take that pearl coat, you know, like on those doors, you want to take that pearl coat beyond where you've put your undercoat. So I put the first coat I'll go beyond where I can see where I've base coated, and then I will go even further on the second coat. No drop coat required. I've never seen any benefit from drop coating the pearl coat stage. It doesn't seem to change anything for me, but yeah, I have drop coated it in the past, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. So yeah, just get that on there. And if you're getting close in your blending zones, you know, you do need a lot of room with these blending, you know, the tricolours and the pearl colours. Don't be afraid for that last coat of pearl, that even if you're getting right up to you know, an edge of a blending zone, most of the times, as long as the effect looks like the original paint, you can't go wrong, and it won't really affect the colour. But like I say, they are all different on some systems, and the formulations are different across manufacturers, and you know, across different colours. Some, like I say, some of them do have a bit of colour in them sometimes. So yeah, got all that dried out. It dried out nice and smooth, considering there's like 6 coats of base coat on there in total. So yeah, onto the clear coat. I'm using my Satajet CC gun for this. I like the finish it gives for a production finish. It's really good for a production finish. The finish was, I've done a few Teslas, and yeah, some of them paint wise have looked terrible to me, and panel gap wise. But this is a bit of a later one, and it was a decent quality paint finish on this one. So yeah, it was nice and flat. It wasn't thick and chunky, but it looked like it had a decent build of clear coat on it. So, you know, I've worked on a few Teslas, but they're few and far between. But I have noticed differences in them, and you know, earlier ones that I worked on, I thought they were quite poor quality, considering you know, the sort of car it is. But yeah, it was a nice paint finish on this one, and yeah, like I say, it had a decent amount of paint on, and it wasn't sort of drawn in or anything like that. It had a good build to it, and it wasn't sort of chunky, sort of orange peel neither. So I thought it was an ideal gun to use on this job. So yeah, the clear coat I used on this is Mipa CX2. I used on this. I think it was a little while ago when I painted this job. But yeah, and yeah, just 2 coats as normal at 2 bar full fan full fluid. I pretty much have the CC gun full fan and full fluid, where it's it just put a lighter coat on compared to my other clear coat gun is a Satajet 1.5500 with a 1.20, and that can be a bit of a hose pipe sometimes, a bit of a cannon. But yeah, so I will restrict that gun sometimes depending on the finish I want. But this one, yeah, you can just go full bore with a CC gun, and it's yeah, does a really good job. Yeah, we left the bumper on this job quite often, but most of the time we will take bumpers off, and they're not that difficult to take off. But this sort of job was in for 2 smart repairs really. It was just both corners low down was scuffed, and I was debating on I sort of booked it in for 2 blow-ins really, but I just thought by the time I try and do 2 lots of fading out in the middle, I may as well just do it all, and then yeah, then you end up taking care of some other issues because you are putting paint over it all. That happens with bumpers quite a lot. They can sort of escalate the job, but time wise it's a little bit more materials, and it didn't take it. To me, it's quicker just to paint that bumper. I weren't going to get involved with taking it off because it wasn't booked in for that really. So yeah, just thought I'd do it on. There was not a lot to mask up on it. It was pretty straightforward masking on that one. So we left the bumper on that job, and yeah, I just ended up painting all of it in the end. So yeah, you know, before I clear coated, I did check that spray out, and it looked really good edge to edge, and yeah, this colour come out really well actually. It was absolutely spot on edge to edge. I didn't have any shade differences at all really. So yeah, just onto the second coat, the clear coat now, and yeah, just put it on a little bit wetter. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Just thought I'd give you an explanation of how I go about doing 3-stage pills on the paint system I'm on Mipa water base, and yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the clear coat going on, and yeah, thanks for watching. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you again soon.